Welcome to Offscreen. This week we're reading BOOMTOWN by Matt King. A slick corporate investigator with a closely guarded secret discovers a sinister criminal conspiracy in North Dakota oil boom country.
Okay, so I know nothing about Matt King. I assume you have looked something up.
I have. This is his first sale. Let me find this actually.
Can I make a prediction?
Yeah.
Did he write books before this? Or is he like a writer of some other kind?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was a former journalist who's written for The Village Voice, American Lawyer, and Focus Europe, and he's worked with PBS's Frontline. This is according to the Deadline article.
Okay, I should have actually guessed that, because this has a very, investigative journalist type vibe to it.
Sure.
But I was just thinking because his prose is really good.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's a lot of very detailed, and the description in here is...
It's pretty precise language.
Yeah, there's like a
evocative.
pretty wide vocabulary. I had to look up a lot of words. Not ashamed to say.
Right. No, he definitely a very strong writer.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, a little much. Like, it was... The reason we're recording this so late is because it took me forever to read this script, which is not to say it was, like, a struggle. I enjoyed reading it, but there's some pretty dense description at times.
Sure, but not so
not,
much.
Well,
in my opinion.
not dense. It was detailed, but it was still pretty concise, but, like, I don't know. It took longer than
really?
than an average script.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's
read.
also of longer length. It's 122 pages.
Yeah.
120 pages, I guess.
But anyway, do you know anything more about him?
He just worked as a journalist before, and this is his first screenplay sale.
Well, good for him. His very first script right out of the gate.
Well, I don't know if this is his first script.
Whatever.
That's his first sale.
I'm not sweating it. I'm not bitter.
No. He has Twitter, I think. But
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay. Shall I synopsis?
I should say that also it appeared on the 2015 blacklist.
Right.
That's how we found it. That's why it's relevant to our cause.
We've really been digging into that 2015 blacklist.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty fun so far.
Yeah. I mean, as always, there's hits and misses, but...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess it's kind of a thriller, like a...
Yeah.
Private investigator, PI type movie, thriller.
I would just call it, thriller.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Okay. Synopsis. Mercury Petroleum, a corporate behemoth in the business of fracking, I guess, right? Oil fracking?
Yeah.
I don't fully understand what fracking is, to be honest. It's something to do with, like, drilling for oil, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's bad for the environment.
And it's bad, yeah.
And it involves, like, blasting large... I think you go down really deep, and you just, like, blow shit up, and then oil comes.
Okay. Anyway.
Don't put that on the podcast in case that's wrong. Edit that out.
If it's right, can I put it in?
I mean, that would involve us looking it up, and it might be more complicated than
Whatever.
that. Whatever.
I'll start over.
Okay, yeah.
Mercury Petroleum, a corporate behemoth in the business of fracking, hopes to buy out a much smaller company in North Dakota called Homestead. They provide dormitory-style housing for the huge influx of workers which the oil industry has brought to the otherwise nowhere town. This is where John Street comes in. Calling himself a security consultant, he's hired by Mercury to investigate any shady secrets Homestead might be harboring before going through with the merger. Sure enough, John unravels a murder case which has been covered up by the local sheriff. 2 Brazilians came looking for the women taken from their country to serve as in-house prostitutes at the men's dorms. With the help of a deputy named Matty, who seems to be the only non-corrupt cop in town, John Street exposes the truth to Mercury. But his accusations fall on deaf ears. Mercury is just as corrupt, and when John threatens to tell the world what's happening, they're forced to silence him. John barely escapes with his life. He returns to lay low in Manhattan, relieved to blend into a much more crowded population, which includes his daughter and ex-wife with whom he hopes to reconcile. And that is a whole other story which I left out. That's like the entire subplot.
I mean, this is a hard one to summarize concisely.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Um, any qualms with that? Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, we would be here for like another 3 minutes if you wanted to get every detail. I guess the major thing, though, about John's character is that he's bipolar.
Right.
Which is something that he, I guess, has a genetic component. His father was bipolar, as is his daughter. And it's something that he's concealed from everyone.
Right.
And there comes a point in the screenplay where his medicine, someone breaks into his hotel room and flushes his medicine. So he's becoming like more and more manic as the screenplay wears on. And that is something that influences him, but also something that his enemies are using against him, I guess.
Yeah, but also it plays into the stakes of the story a lot. I think that's an important factor, because his daughter is trying to get into a special school, which I assume it would like cater to her needs more with her condition and everything. It's a very expensive school, and this job, if John can pull it off, it would earn him a lot of money, which he would put towards her getting into that school.
Right.
So that's kind of tied into everything for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with the good again. What did you think?
I really dug the first 75% of this, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm into these type of stories.
I thought you would like this. I feel like you like things that... I'm not going to presume to try and like analyze your taste too much, but things that have like a social implications. Like, I don't know. This was like exposing the seedy underbelly of a quiet little community. Right. I feel like you like things with like community-wide implications.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I'm intrigued very much by, I guess, like the machinations of these like huge corporations and how they're able to serve their interests at the expense of other people, which is something that we see in the screenplay with Mercury basically trying to just complete their vertical integration, where they own the land and all of the oil drilling on it, and they want to buy up this
housing for the workers.
Housing that's sprouted up, for the workers.
Just every part of the process they want to own and control.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me.
What did you like specifically about the first part of the script that you didn't like about the rest?
Well, the plot kind of goes off the rails towards the end, in my opinion. There's too many twists, too many turns. When it's revealed that he isn't actually dead, when John isn't actually dead.
He almost dies twice, I would say.
Yeah, he almost dies twice.
And they pull out the old hidden bulletproof vest. That old chestnut.
Which was a big eye roll for me.
Yeah. It's always a giveaway when he says, "Please just don't shoot me in the face."
Yeah.
Then you know, okay, they're shooting him in
the...
They shoot him, like, in the back, actually, but, like, obviously, that's because he was wearing the vest.
But that's... Obviously, you see that coming from, like, a mile away. But it's also, like, a betrayal of the character, his coworker, basically, Eddie Hayes, who's basically sent there to make sure that John Street does his job.
Yeah. And when he does, he's just ready to go ahead and turn on him and shoot John.
Yeah, so he shoots John, but he doesn't even bother to check and make sure that John's dead.
Yeah, that seems like pretty sloppy work.
Like, also, I imagine the amount of blood would be different. Like, wouldn't you at least see that? You don't even need to, like, feel around. But
I didn't even think of that, yeah.
Like...
Have you done any, offing of people in your day?
And
pretty
when I carry out a hit, I make sure that they're not wearing any Kevlar.
Right. Rookie mistake.
It's a rookie mistake from a guy that's portrayed as anything but.
Yeah. But I was trying to get at what you like about the
I guess just the general complexity of the plot, how these pieces fit together with Mercury and with Homestead. Mm-hmm. I thought that was all good. And I thought it was pretty believable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a pretty complicated plot that is explained in a way that is very understandable. Usually I'm kind of lost with stuff like this, but I felt like I was pretty much on the same page the whole time.
Right. But I think eventually they just keep adding these different, more and more plot elements, and it becomes plot points on top of plot points, as opposed to like letting what's already there breathe. I could, in like a different circumstance, appreciate how like the mania of the screenplay mirrors his own.
I don't think that's what they're going for.
There's no real like cause and effect there. I don't know. Were there things you liked about it?
There's some pretty sharp dialogue in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do a good job with John, especially. He's very glib, is how I would describe him.
Okay.
Like, a lot of his job involves, like, pretending that he is someone else so that he can get in, like, behind the scenes of these companies and, like, see their inner workings. And he is first meeting with the guy who's kind of like he's like the property manager type guy of these dorms, who gives him, like, a tour of the facilities and everything. And you can tell that this guy is kind of onto him and thinks maybe he's lying. And he says, like, John says he's from the county, like, he's like a county inspector. And the guy giving him the tour is like, oh, how are you liking those new offices? And John's like, oh, no, you must be mistaken. Like, we've been in the same dump for years. And that was, I assume that what I was supposed to take from that. The guy was trying to catch him in the lie.
Right.
And John had done his research. He'd done his homework.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, like, back and forth like that I thought was really sharp.
Which is a really effective, I think, writing tool, because it concisely conveys the fact that Gil is, one, suspicious, and two, also that John is very competent at his job.
Well, yeah, it's just so much more engaging to like, have two people that are, like, fair rivals. You know, like, if the guy was just completely gullible, it wouldn't have been as fun to watch, and it's very endearing for us to see John be really good at his job, and he's not really going to have to be good at his job unless he's up against someone who's also pretty clever.
Yeah.
Even though I was complaining about the descriptions being sort of long or sort of wordy sometimes, they were very good. They felt really, like, savvy.
Like a little hard-boiled kind
of.
A little noirish.
A little bit, yeah. Uh-huh. Which suited it.
Just like the opening description: a dark road, a darker night, splitting all this nothing. A battered Subaru barrels along, whipped speakers and rattling exhaust pushed to the limit.
Yeah,
gives a very vivid picture of that car, but also the setting.
They did a really good job of making the most of the setting.
Yeah,
there are some scripts where I feel like the locations from scene to scene are just like arbitrary. And they just, like, need to mix it up and go somewhere different just for the sake of it not being boring. But, like, this is an inherently boring setting. They, like, make a point of saying it's just, like, flat nothingness in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And yet, that it becomes, like, I think I've maybe said this about some other scripts, but, like, the setting is almost like a character, it feels like, and it's really cool. Like, there are several scenes where it's just in a field somewhere, but in this context, it implies, like, oh, they're doing something that they don't want anyone to see or know about. So that was good.
And it really informs the characters, too. Like, there's a moment where the sheriff, who's corrupt, this, like, obese, corrupt sheriff, says it's better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So he never left, and now he's in charge and can do whatever he pleases because...
Everyone's corrupt.
Yeah, everyone's corrupt, and there's no one there to stop him.
Yeah. It is a pretty bleak story, I will say. Yeah.
Well, I guess that it could have been, if it ended with John getting shot in the parking lot or wherever that was, then it could have been, I think I would have liked it a lot more.
I was going to say that too. Like, he goes on like this whole tirade at the final big corporate meeting about the merger. He like storms in, very dramatic, and he tells them all what's going on, and they're all like, yeah, we know, we're cool with it, basically. And they hit him in the head with a stapler, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then he hits his head on a table on his way down. Not good. I guess.
Was that when you thought he was gonna die?
He almost died 3 times, I guess.
He almost first died when... I think we need to set this up because it's not going to make sense.
Oh, wait, there's a 4th time.
He almost died a lot.
He almost got burned alive at another point.
Right. And I guess this is ultimately my biggest issue with it, if I can cut it a little head to that, is that there's too many things.
So there's like the Brazilians thing.
There's
like the cover-up with the sheriff thing.
The cover-up with the sheriff.
There's the merger with the companies.
And then, like, it makes sense that the Brazilians are there, but it's pretty disconnected because they're looking for, like, the women from their hometown.
That I liked that. Yeah, I thought that would have been more interesting to me than some of the like corporate level stuff going on.
Oh, okay. I guess.
Like, I was pretty engaged with that scene where I was saying he almost got set on fire. Like, the Brazilians kidnap John at one point, and they bring him to this, like, little shed or something out in the middle of nowhere. And they've already kidnapped that other guy I was talking about earlier who gave John the tour of the facility. They're trying to figure out from him, like, where these women are being held. And they just burn that dude alive right in front of John. It's actually really disgusting. It even says that in the script at one point, like, they continue questioning John as this guy is just burning. And then a little bit later, it says, like, let me find this. It says, Gil's charred head falls off. Disgusting. It actually says disgusting in the script. It's like, yeah. But anyway, they almost burn him alive as well. But anyway, that scene was like... They
almost burn him alive, and then Maddie, like, just out of nowhere barges in, like, in the nick of time to save him. She's
like the deputy I was mentioning that's, like, the one cop who isn't corrupt.
Almost like Marge-esque from Fargo.
She's a lady cop. I mean...
she's a lady cop who is, like, pure of heart in a world of... no pure-heartedness.
And but also has like a hard edge to her.
Right.
Yeah, so I can see that. Maybe this is like Marge after she's had her kid because she's pregnant in Fargo, and this character has a kid.
They both have names that begin with M. Both set in North Dakota.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Blown the whole thing wide open.
I know. I knew there was a conspiracy here.
Yeah, you're a regular John Street.
Anyways.
But I was saying I was really engaged by that whole interrogation scene with like them setting that dude on fire. Obviously that's like horrifying, but I could have stayed with those Brazilian dudes more. That would have been pretty interesting.
Well, I think the screenplay would have been stronger if they brought them in more or didn't bring them in at all, I guess.
You know, I find myself more and more giving that note about just all kinds of things. It's like you either need to have more of this or none of it. Like, you have to be decisive. Like, if you're gonna follow a certain story thread, or if you're gonna like try and hit a certain motif or like a theme, you got to really commit to it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they were kind of just like barely in there.
Yeah.
I also felt, you know, another thing I had that same note about. There was sort of a religious angle to this that just barely like peeped its head in, where they were alluding to the fact that like the guy who owns Homestead. He, I guess, is like a very devout. I don't know what sect of Christianity. His father
was a preacher, and
right?
Yeah,
and he's like listening to some sermon at one point, which sounds very like.
He's basically saying the preacher's basically saying that God put men on this earth to like serve Him, and God created women to serve men.
Yeah,
and that is their entire role. Which is pretty good foreshadowing for the actual crime at hand.
Yeah.
The prostitution.
Which is why I thought, like, this is a messed up thing to say, but, like, I really did kind of want to see what this little prostitution ring thing looked like in its prime. By the time they uncover it and they find the actual location, they've already, like, shipped them all off.
Yeah, it would have been good to see how they really fit in to, like, to see the... I don't know if protocol is the right word, but to see how the prostitutes and like the men that worked there interacted and like what the system was.
Yeah.
Because it's alluded to, or at one point it's stated that everyone knows that this is going on. No one says or does anything about it, which is pretty powerful. But I think it would have been stronger still if we actually see what's happening and see like how people are covering it up, because the women are there for their one purpose.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So I think it would have been more harrowing to see it.
So there's a part, I'll explain first just a little bit. There's a part where, like, John Street, someone's basically just trying to, like, pay him off to let this go on happening without him exposing it. And he kind of plays along at first, and they go ahead and cut him a fat check. And... he has it made out to his ex-wife, actually. And my question was just, I don't know what happened to that check. At the end of the script, he reunites with his ex-wife and his daughter, and there's a voiceover, which is like from a letter that was sent to her saying like, oh, sorry, there was a check in here, but there's not anymore. I don't know what happened to the check. That's all I'm saying. Do you know?
Presumably they canceled the check once he betrayed them.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Well, I guess I thought, yeah, they would have done that very quickly.
They would have put
you're
a
right.
stop on that check.
I suppose so.
But I think we should
That's why
backtrack
you
a
should
little bit.
ask. Just let that be a lesson. You should always get cash money for these kind of deals.
Yeah. So, well, I thought it was interesting too. Everyone gives John the opportunity to just look at Homestead. It appears to be fine. Sign off on it, and he would get a huge bonus.
Yeah.
And his family really needs some money. He has some obligation to them. If he stopped digging like right away, you know, he wouldn't have been the best dude, but he wouldn't have been the worst dude either.
Right.
Like he as his boss says, his job as a corporate consultant is to serve the client.
Right.
But he takes a more moral stance and refuses to do that, and that's what results in the stop check and all of that.
There was a really nice moment actually. This is you want to talk about like actual structure. This is to me the midpoint of the story. This is a classic midpoint. Midpoints are like my favorite part most of the time when it comes to like story structure. The way it usually happens is like all of Act 1 is just set up, and then once you launch the like main tension of the story, you're into Act 2, and then for the first half of Act 2, usually things are going pretty well. And then you get to the midpoint where the rug is pulled out from under your protagonist, and like he thinks he's just about got what he wants and it's over, and there's some complication. So that's kind of what you were talking about, where he like had a moment that he was almost going to accept the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened was, as I recall, this is how I interpreted it, like he had pretty much said, okay, fine, just give me my money, I'll shut up and I'll go home. But then, right when he's about to do that, he walks in on Gina already basically making the deal with the guy from Homestead. And, like, he's just pissed that even though this is what he was about to say he was okay with, they were doing it without him saying he was okay with it. And now he's pissed. And now he's like, no, never mind. I don't want to do it anymore. Now I am going to fight this. That was the midpoint. Classic midpoint,
yeah,
if you ask me. You nearly have it. He's nearly done. It could end right there, like
something
said.
that could have closed the story.
Yeah,
and instead,
sets
it off. And
he could have gotten that money, and he could have sent his girl to that school.
Right.
The end.
Yeah.
But nope, they crossed him. This feels like almost a Nicolas Cage type movie, or like Liam Neeson. Maybe Nicolas Cage. I think Nicolas Cage would be better.
Cage in this. Yeah.
If he was a little younger, he's getting old. The man is a national treasure in and of himself.
Of course.
He could have played this like 10 years ago.
Definitely.
He could. If Nick Cage was in this, they would amp up that bipolar thing and really let him go to town on that.
Oh man!
Can you
imagine?
imagine?
Now we need it. Just rewrite the character to be a little older, or get Nick Cage an awesome hairpiece and age him down, like give him that Benjamin Button treatment.
Just let him loose.
Oh, he would kill it. He'd be so good.
I'm
like so excited for that now.
He'd be like posing as different people and like conning his way into these companies, and then he stops taking his meds and he gets a little unhinged and he just like goes off on people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any other big points you want to hit, or should we wrap this up?
I think we can wrap it up unless you have more to say.
No, I'm pretty good. What's your verdict overall?
Well, you're gonna hate me. I'm gonna throw a little qualifying.
Of course you are. What?
No, I'm not. I guess I would consider them both.
Okay.
You
did say I guess.
I would consider them both. You can cut out the I guess and cut out the whole first part. I would consider them both. I think the third act of the story becomes way too plot driven for my liking. There's a lot of contrivance there. And if you just cut that back, I don't think you lose anything, but you gain. It becomes much tighter.
Were you
more
about
effective dramatically?
Yeah, were you about to say this earlier? I think about the ending, how it would have actually been kind of cool if he had died.
Yeah,
I think I agree. I think I would have actually liked that more. Maybe I'm also just like sick and tired of seeing people supposedly die and come back. Like I was complaining with Batman versus Superman, how of course Superman is going to die and then he's going to come back. That's just like, it's too overdone. And
yeah, it's pretty dumb.
But I think actually like for like other reasons in this story, it would have been really nice. It would have worked.
Right. It would have been...
Because his whole letter, that they do this whole voiceover of the letter that he wrote with the check that ended up getting canceled or whatever.
Yeah.
He was saying, like, how he'll still be there for his daughter and everything, and, like, he was trying to, like, leave a mark on the world or whatever about, like, having made a difference and stuff. And
yeah.
That's kind of undercut when he's still alive, and he's like...
And maybe had they gone ahead and succeeded in whatever, succeed in with their...
yeah, the merger and everything,
yeah.
and they cover it up.
It would be more, like, fatalistic, but...
Yeah. Sorry, but did you have more to say about your verdict?
No, basically just there's too many plot elements, and if they weeded some of those out, I don't think a whole lot would have been lost.
I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I feel like I'm going to qualify this a little bit. I think I would...
I don't think you ever need to apologize for qualifying it.
Only to myself, maybe not to you.
Not to me, definitely.
I think I would also consider both the script and the writer, but it's a very strong consider on the writer for me. I think I was pretty impressed with this. Like, he was juggling a lot of balls in the air and kept him going the whole time. Yeah. I don't think he dropped the ball once. The descriptions were really nice and very evocative. I think this is a really strong writer. So it's a strong consider.
There we go. That's great.
As Steven would say. So next week
we're going to read... Well, no, first let's talk about ospodcast.com.
Oh, man. Gosh, we do this every time. How do we forget every time? We're the worst.
Facebook.com. Well, we didn't forget.
Well, we always forget and then we remember.
Yeah, I mean, we forgot to do it like at the beginning, but we usually don't do it then. Anyways.
Whatever.
Facebook.com/ospodcast. We're on YouTube, Twitter, iTunes. You can leave us a review on iTunes. You can comment on our Facebook page. You can comment on our website.
Yeah, can we get the name of the person? His
name is Kieran.
Kieran. Yeah, they left us a really nice comment and very constructive criticism, which we're actually going to try and address this more, and I was trying to do this a little bit already, but the point was we should try to elaborate more on, like, screenwriting lessons to be learned from these scripts about more of, like, the mechanics of storytelling. We're going to try to focus a little more on structure.
So that's cool.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we always welcome feedback, and...
Yeah. But yeah, next week we're reading Bright by Max Landis, which is a really...
hot script in town.
Yeah, hot script in town.
Just sold for a cool $3 million, right?
Which is a lot of dollars.
Yeah.
It's sold to Netflix, who's already attached... Well, I guess it was sold with the attachments in place, but David Ayers and Will Smith are involved.
And Bradley Cooper, right?
No, Bradley Cooper's involved. No, Max Landis is just killing life, and he has Bradley Cooper attached to a different script.
Oh, I didn't realize what you meant. Okay.
Yeah. Will Smith on this one, and it's apparently, like, all told, like a $90 million project, which will make it by far Netflix's biggest endeavor to date.
Okay. Well, it's my job to read the logline.
Yeah.
In a world where fantasy creatures live alongside humans, a cop and his orc partner stumble upon a magical item so rare, everyone in the city comes after them to get it.
Yeah, so we're going to read the draft with revisions by David Ayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Cool.